Can you be so heartless? Can you be so heartless? On this episode of RVA Real Estate Talk, me and Galen discuss what it takes to differentiate yourself as a top producer versus an average real estate agent.
You're listening to RVA Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker, your source for an honest, insightful look into Central Virginia's real estate market. Combined, Jared and Galen have over 20 years sales experience, as well as hundreds of testimonials from clients past and present who rely on them for advice and assistance when buying and selling homes in today's incredibly hot and competitive real estate market. And now, your hosts, Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
I am Jared Davis.
And I am still Galen Parker.
Still Galen Parker. We're rounding out the year, aren't we, Galen?
This year is flown by. It's crazy. Someone told me yesterday they were about to fall back. Is that how it is? Fall forward?
Yes.
I want an extra hour of 2020. Is that what I'm doing right now?
Forward.
That's what I want.
One more hour of 2020 this week, guys.
I want to linger in this stench of a year. It has been amazing in a lot of regards.
It's been the best year ever. I don't care what anybody says.
There's probably about a couple 100,000 Americans that would disagree with you.
Magnus disagrees.
Magnus would disagree. Poor Magnus. I sometimes think what happened to Magnus. If you guys don't remember, Magnus was the name of my Xterra. I don't know what happened to him.
Is this going to be brought up like every podcast?
Do not make me come over there. It's like losing a family member.
It is. It's like a grieving period, Mike. Like we're still like what
don't
phase we're in?
realize
He's past denial.
how much I love that vehicle.
He's at acceptance now.
I like now when I'm driving down the highway, I see other Xterras. It's like I like uncomfortably like look at them as they drive by. I'm like,
I saw one the other day that looked so good. It
must
was
be
all
nice.
jacked up on nice tires.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh,
I had the big rugged tires. I was like, I mean, I love the new vehicle.
Yeah.
I'm finally cozying up. It was a bumpy starter period with the new vehicle because
is that the crunch of
that's the
Magnus?
crunch of,
is that a drive-by? What's happening right now? That's the crunch of Magnus. Shout out to State Farm for holding me down. They were so nice when I called. They were just like, "Hey, don't worry about it. Are you okay?" I'm
Really?
like,
That's nice. That's
thank
training.
you, Jake at State Farm.
Did you work at Chick-fil-A before
Yeah, I
this?
know. It was like my pleasure to serve you. Speaking of which, I went to Chick-fil-A the other day for the first time almost since coronavirus. It was like a 90-car deep double line.
Is it because
going
now
through.
you have Sweet Baby Ray's chicken sauce at home, which tastes just like Chick-fil-A
Sweet
sauce?
Baby Ray's.
Yes.
If you're out there, holla at your boy.
That's
Love
right.
you so much right now.
Yeah, so if you're like
I don't know how
us-
you've missed the lawsuit from from Chick-fil-A. I don't know how you did it.
It has a picture of a Chick-fil-A sandwich on the bottle with waffle fries.
I need to talk to their marketing guy. I'm like, you are brilliant. I don't know how you did it.
Mike, put a picture of the Sweet Baby Ray's chicken sauce on the podcast video if you can.
Okay.
when
There's
you
like
go.
a kid saying "my pleasure" in the background of the
Yeah.
Sweet Baby. I'm like, this
There's like a
seems
cow
like
serving it.
copyright. Yeah. So anyway, it was hard to transition with the new vehicle. There was a leak in my vehicle, Acura. What are you doing? There was a welding leak, but thankfully, a longtime friend since 5th grade, Aaron Trainham, used to work at Ray's Upholstery here in Midlothian, Virginia. He pulled that car apart.
48 seconds.
48 seconds.
I mean, I've never.
He should run a chop shop.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, does he do this illegally?
I mean,
Under the guise of
Jerry
darkness?
went inside. What'd you go inside for?
I was like,
a
I'm going to grab a
flashlight?
cup of water real quick. And I like go in, get a glass of water. I come out. All the seats are out of the car. The carpet's out. Like half the dash is out.
I mean,
it
it was
looked like
incredible.
it made it 20% through the Acura assembly
I felt like
line.
we were back in Japan, and we were still assembling the MDX. He was very good at it. That guy's brilliant when it comes to stuff like that. The best part, so when we did that at your house, we didn't actually fix it. It was just kind of like an exploration. Later, at his house, we did fix it, and we got to a point where I was ready to give up. I was like, I'm going to just drive this thing back to the dealer and be like, hey, listen, this is your issue. I don't want it. You know, I'm still in my 30 days. Take this thing back. I've got ample reason. But then he got this crazy look in his eye, like a madman, and he was like, I'm not giving up. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to go home. It's nighttime. We're in his driveway. And he's like, no, I got it. He starts like reaching under my dash, pulling things out like modules, chips, CPUs. There was a
Just like, no,
arm.
just be sure to plug it back in, and your
It was
airbags will go off when you turn it on.
Writing that says, yeah, I was just like, what? The funny thing is, like, I was on a conference call when he was doing it, so I couldn't even react. But I'm like talking to someone, and I'm like, yeah. So as we see, the market is. What is he doing?
And he's like, don't turn the key. Your airbags will deploy
he's
right
just
now.
Pulling
if you
out.
do.
He's like pulling out. He could have been a doctor giving birth the way his hands are up there, just yanking things out of there. We'll talk about that later,
Speaking
Mike.
of birth.
So he's pulling things out.
That's right.
Guts
We'll get
everywhere.
to you, Mike.
And then he finds, like, he looks at him, he's like, hey, I found the leak. And it's like a tiny sliver where the weld had failed. And he siliconed the whole thing up, patched it, all that stuff, waited, and it's been fine since. So shout out to him. But
Now
it was
she's
a rough
dry
one.
inside.
And now it's normal.
Yeah, no.
We did all that just to get to status quo of 0.
I mean, just watching him pour water in every crevice he was just in every hole that you could be there pouring water.
It was really funny. It's like an ant crawling all over a thing. He's just like, I'm gonna try this. Let's pour water over here. He's like, let's sit here. It was so uncomfortable because it's like some parts I have to get inside, and there would be like, there's no carpet. There's no seats, and I'm just cramped on the metal floor of a vehicle. Like, this
You see
is
water?
Like,
You see
I was like,
water
this is
coming
the most
in?
expensive sled I've ever seen in my life. I was like, there's no way. I'm just like, well, just push me down the hill.
I wish he owned an auto shop just so we could refer him.
Yeah, I know. That would be great.
Like, Aaron, do you want side work? Can we just send people to your house?
His whole family are auto. What's the word?
A mechanic?
No, they're not. None of them are mechanics, but they're like engineers and stuff.
Okay.
But they're automotive savvy, I would think. His brother Josh has got like a Corvette they like rebuilds, and his dad does it. His dad told Aaron once, he was like, "You got this in your blood, Aaron." And I think that's like the funniest thing because that's like how he conveys love to his son. So very beautiful. But speaking of love to a child, Mike, do you have something you want to tell us about? All right, that's enough. Thanks for Mike.
On to the next one.
Drop it on us, Mike. This is a big one.
His wife had another baby.
Yeah.
He contributed nothing. It was
So
amazing.
we were actually scheduled to have the baby yesterday.
Right.
And my wife was having some blood pressure issues and kind of high. And so she went to the hospital last Monday and didn't come out of the hospital. And so I had to, end of the day, had to be there. And we had a C-section. And 8 o'clock at night, baby girl.
Nice. It's a girl. Very nice. For some reason, in my brain, I thought it was a boy. You already have a boy.
Brooklyn Grace.
We're Brooklyn at.
Resendez.
We're Brooklyn. I love that name.
So what's your age range in children now? You ready? Drum roll.
There's 3 of them.
Yep. So we have an infant, a 4-year-old, and an 18-year-old.
Nice.
But the 18-year-old
Put it down,
doesn't
Mike.
really live with us anymore. So
Yeah,
Hey,
so
man.
she's just not your child.
Raise your hand.
Right.
She graduated from
That is a
parent.
different thing.
she's out. She's done.
Raise your hand if you still lived at home when you're 18. No one in this room, right? I was like, hey, when I was 18, we were all out.
I was out at
Jared was
18.
like married. Jared was like married and had like 8 kids.
I had no kids. No kids.
You moved out at 18?
I moved out at 18. I got married at 19.
Really?
Yeah.
I started college at
I had
17,
no business being married
and
at
I
19.
like
Me either.
I didn't move. Well, it's funny thing is, I always tell people it's like I didn't move out. My mom moved out because like she was like a rep for Columbia Gas, so they transferred her to like Columbus, Ohio.
See,
Go Buckeyes.
I was determined not to have a roommate, so I had to wait a little bit longer.
Nice.
So I did not want to have to deal with that.
So many things are happening in our lives right now. You got kids,
Yeah. I was buying cars left and
buying
right.
crazy.
cars,
Selling houses.
selling houses.
Slinging houses.
Houses market's going good. Yesterday, I ratified one. Today, I closed one, and I think we got one that's about to close again. So
Yeah, so we are.
I lost a bid on one, which really made me angry.
Wow.
but-
That's like every day in this market. Yes, I'm at 100. We're at 111 deals for the team right this
Nice.
second for the year, and
We've got 45 members on the team, I think.
45. Yeah, we average a
Yeah,
half
you
a deal
guy
a
called me
person.
yesterday.
Yeah. No, we're actually the team's growing. Yeah, if you're an agent, if you're looking for a good place to be, if you've been thinking
Call
about,
Galen Parker.
you should. You call either one. I don't care who you call. Yeah, if you've been thinking about making a brokerage change, new year, right? New year, no brokerage. That's what we did last year. We rolled into the new brokerage January 1. Best thing we ever did. So, if you're thinking about making any changes,
What's it
let
like
us
when
know.
someone goes from regular
Hold on.
agent?
Hold
What?
on, Galen.
What?
Whatever you're laughing about, please just share with the
I was thinking
audience.
like 8 podcasts ago, we mentioned a transition in your life that knew something, and I was like, upgrade, and there was some backlash there. So that's why I'm like, I'm not saying anything. It was not real estate related, but I was like, Jared totally got upgraded. And there was like, so I'm just sitting here like, yep, change.
Gary will be calling you after
I
this.
know. I was like, I don't want no smoke. I want no smoke with anyone.
That's so funny.
I was like, it was like a joke. It wasn't even real estate related, but people took offense.
On that note, can
So.
we just get into the deep dive ASAP then?
This is the deep dive. We're going.
All right.
This is
Deep dive. Okay. All right. This is a long
25-minute transition.
I mean, this is
I support all of
this
it.
is Mike Corn Wild, I guess, on the
Mike,
back end.
are these all the instruments you just played? Did you do this yourself?
Yeah.
This is Eddie Van Halen tribute.
Hey, no joking on this.
I'm not joking.
not joke on
All right,
that.
let's keep Mike together for the podcast.
Last
this
time he
week.
teared up and made it super awkward.
And it was like Daddy was hitting Mama in the living room. We do film a podcast during it.
We were midstream of the podcast, and Mike's like, Eddie Van Halen died. And we were just like, okay. And then I was like, are you about to
Childhood
walk off?
guitar
Just left.
hero.
Mike just like left the
Childhood
room.
guitar
He's like,
hero.
you can
No,
finish
I
on your
support that. I
own.
just didn't know what we were going to
Agents
do.
have no soul.
I was like, should we turn off the cameras? I didn't know what energy really flew out the window there.
I was waiting
Cold
for
of ice.
It's as cold
It
as
is.
ice.
You have to be cold in this business. So here's the deep dive.
That's right.
Almost every week nowadays, in a lot of like the real estate masterminds that I'm a part of, I see newer agents or just agents in general post up asking what differentiates the top producers from the average real estate agent, or the agent that says, look, I'm selling 15 houses a year, but I really want to double that. I'm selling 40 houses a year. I really want to double that. So we wanted to talk about how to scale your business, right?
Absolutely.
So Galen, he's taking pictures. He's on Instagram.
This is Instagram.
Are you TikTok, Snapchat?
You know, I think I'm too old for TikTok at this point. I'm not doing any dances. But I feel like that's all TikTok is. Just
That
people
is.
like doing like weird, like, I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What was the question? Fire back at me.
All right.
What makes the top agent? What is my opinion? Is that what you're about to ask?
Yeah, so that's good. We're going to deep dive the topic of what differentiates the agent that is just average.
Okay.
Right? Nothing
Right.
wrong with being an average agent. Most agents are average. That's why it's
Sure.
called the average.
It's average, yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you want to grow to be above average, what do you have to do to differentiate yourself?
Okay.
Galen?
You know, one of the things that I think about, and I'm not going to, I feel like it's self-serving to be like, it's a top producing team, but I will say this.
I'll do that part.
Yeah, that's good. I will say this. There are agents that I admire, and I see a thread between them. And I think it's one of the funniest things because we talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's like, doesn't matter how busy you are, there's someone busier. And I have found that even people where I'm like, oh man, this guy's not going to answer the phone. He's not going to call me back because he's super busy. Those are always the guys that pick up the phone. It's crazy to me. The guys who are not super busy and they're doing like 1 or 2 or 3 deals like a year, those are the guys that are like, oh, sorry, I was
Sorry, I've been
swamped.
so slammed.
Couldn't call you back. So that's
so
to me,
with my
that's-
one contract.
yeah, that's my big one. I'm like, you've got to realize, one, yes, you've got value. Your time is valuable, but you can never assume that your time is more valuable than the next person because that next person could be, a $50,000 commission coming to your ways. So you always make time. And so I love it when I talk to people like that and they're like, oh yeah, I always answer the phone or I make sure I call them back. Maybe answering the phone's a challenge because, I get 80 calls a day about people wanting me to look at my warranty for my vehicle,
Oh my God.
extend it.
Yep.
And
Put
that's
your face on a grocery cart.
Oh, absolutely. Then I've got
Optimize
IR
your
reminding me
Facebook.
20 minutes. Yeah, I get tons of
my God.
hey, love what you're doing on Facebook. Love what you're doing on Instagram. How can I help? I'm like, well, if you love what I'm doing so much, why change it?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, shout out to you guys. If you call me and say that you optimize Facebook pages for a living and then tell me that you noticed I don't have a Facebook presence and then you have to ask me if I'm on Facebook, I'm not giving you my business.
you did not do your homework.
You didn't just type in the Davis Group into Facebook and see that we're the first result and that we have maybe 200,000 hits a month on there. So you're getting hung up on.
So yeah, I think a lot of it has to be with your own mindset of, and this to me goes past real estate, goes past sales. It's just how you view. If you view yourself as so important, And your time, like, you're never going to be there. You've got to come from, and I hate to, and I know I'm about to say it, but I really do believe it. You got to come from a place of serving. Yeah. I every book I read, every podcast I listen to, everything, they're like, you got to come from a place of serving. And it's really true.
This is a customer service business.
Absolutely. I never call leads and I'm like, hey, you want to buy this house? I'm like, hey, how can I help you? You maybe you just have a question. And I find that those top producers, when they're talking to like other agents, you can tell that they're like, I'm willing to help you, because if I help you, one day you're going to help me and we're all going to eat.
So would you say that point comes really down to time management and scheduling?
Absolutely. Yeah. Write things down or whatever you use to keep yourself organized. An unorganized agent is not going to be a top producer. Write that down.
So I would almost go so far as to say that if you're a part-timer or you've got a lot of other stuff going on,
sure,
it will probably be hard for you to reach that status where you want to as a top producer.
Commit to yourself.
And it's not to say you can't do a lot of work without being present if you optimize very well, but if you've got other jobs you're working on or you've got a family that you take care of full time, it can be tough. I'm not saying
I got nothing else.
Yeah.
All I got is this business.
That's right. Galen always doing is selling houses. No, but at the end of the day, it's true.
Sure.
This is a job. And so I think one of the things that you talk to people about is if you ask the average agent, hey, how many hours a week do you spend making phone calls to leads? How many hours a week do you spend in your sphere of influence? How many hours a week do you spend networking? Most of them are going to add up like an 8-hour work week. And so you're not going to get anywhere with that. So you have to make sure that you're actually putting in work. But then as you start to get busier, that's a lot of times where the average agent starts to falter. I feel like they say, man, I've got 7 deals in escrow now or 6 deals. I'm getting really busy. I can't handle any more new acquisitions or any new clients. So they porpoise, right? Their sales go up. They make all their commission.
And they get eaten graphically by a shark.
That's the bottom of the porpoise, right? 0 sales. And then they're trying to catch up again. So they have all of these highs and lows. Real estate is just like good month, terrible month, depressed, happy.
Emotional roller coaster.
Emotional roller coaster. So how do we stay more consistent?
Okay.
And how do we gain the extra business?
So I wrote down 2 things for this, and it's something that I work on. I don't do it perfectly, but I always think, regardless of the highs and lows of real estate, I always try to make sure that my output is consistent. And that means, case in point, I was talking to another agent and they were like, oh man, you and Jared always have like pictures of great places you eat. I'm like, yeah, sure. I was like, we don't really take pictures of like the days where we're like in the Taco Bell drive-thru because we got like 50 appointments. And I was like, and I don't really have that many pictures of like me at my computer with my headset on, like calling, smiling and dialing, dialing for dollars.
That's Chris Elliott's job.
He's the king. I'm undisputed king. But case in point, I do mimic a lot of things that Chris does. That
Chris is awesome. But he posts the pictures of him making calls. Yeah. That's all, every day. I'm like, he's 8 a.m. He's calling people.
I love that because that's what I'm talking about. Like the grind
I do too.
Of it. It's like,
I wish I had half his grind ethic.
It's tough. I shadowed Chris maybe like 3 days before. I was very impressed because I'm just like, that's another thing. There's so many things you should write down, but find someone that you do, respect, and then try to copy what they're doing. If it's working, copy it. And so I've shadowed a lot of different agents in this business, and Chris is just one of them. But, he's got a skill set that I'm like, I want to be able to do more of that. Now, in actuality, I was able to do it to some degree. I think I'm probably on the phone more than most people. But, there are a lot of days where I just, you've seen our office. You come in there and I'm just already in there just like clicking buttons like, hey, hi, this is Galen. Go die. All right, cool. Thank you. Have a great day. People are just like, but, every 20 calls I make, there is one person that's like, I would like to talk more. And I'm like, hey, I'm here to help. How can I help you? Do you have any questions that I can answer?
Yeah.
This doesn't cost you anything. So
accept rejection. There's another point. If you're in this business, you're in sales, which means some people are not going to want to buy from you. It's a numbers game. Yeah. Galen has about 10 death threats a week before he gets the person that's going to buy a house from him.
Sorry. All from Mike. It's all from Mike. That's very true. Like, I get a lot of like people that you and I, we share an assistant named Raya. She follows up on our leads, and I was looking at one that she sent me, and it said they were upset because she had messaged them like 3 times.
In like 2 days, right? Or
It
3
was
days.
actually it was like 4 days. She messaged them
It's
3 times
good.
before they didn't respond. So she's like, "Hey, follow up." And then they're like, "I see that you've texted me. It wasn't call. You've texted me, and that makes me not want to work with you." And I'm like, "Well, I pay her to do that." And I'm like, whoever said like, "Hey, you're working too hard.
Exactly.
Don't want to give you my business because you're working too hard."
You're being, a
That's the
little,
same
you're being a little more
scenario.
persistent than I'd like.
Yeah, I know.
That's the same scenario these days where if you go to someone's house unannounced and they hear the door, they're like, "Who's at the door?"
Like, how dare you?
That's why we have rings now, so you don't have to answer.
I know, but I was like,
You just say, go away from your couch, and they have to.
but as Jared was saying about rejection, you've got to deal with it. My Zoom link every Monday at 11 a.m. The theme of it's called "No one can reject you but you." That's the reminder I get. You're the only person that's going to say no. Like, toughen up.
Yeah.
People are not here to make you happy or wealthy.
Do you
Yeah.
think the average agent works on a schedule base, like
No.
throughout the week and 2 weeks,
No.
like projecting what they're going to be working on?
Nope.
It's not a bad idea, but I doubt it.
Nope. I think most agents would get up and they say, I hope someone calls me to buy a house today. And I think that's almost where it ends for most agents. The average agent does 5 deals a year, right? So at 5 deals a year, you're just assuming that every 2.5 months or so, right, someone's going to call you and say, hey, will you help me buy a house, right? Or you randomly have a conversation with somebody and they want to buy a house.
I was like, when people do call me and they want to they're like, "Hey," and I'm always like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, and it happens pretty regularly, but I'm just like so used to. I'm like, when I wake up, I'm like, no one's calling me, and if you are calling me, it's not good things. It's like
Yeah.
we get a lot of calls where they're like, "Hey, everything's leaking," or
Yeah,
"Hey,
exactly.
I don't actually have financing anymore." So when I get a call like that, I'm like, "What?
Yeah.
You want me?"
Yeah.
But I'm used to calling people, and then they're like, "Oh, that's my personality, though.
So here's the thing.
I'm in your face."
You deal with the rejection. You get yourself on a schedule. You block out times for what's important. If calls are
Absolutely.
important, then you're making these calls. If you're an agent that likes open houses, guess what? If you don't do open houses, you're not getting any clients from open houses. So be in an open house every weekend. If that's
Just
what you
closed
like.
an open house deal. I'm super pumped.
Yeah, and this is not saying that every agent has to have the same exact plan, because every agent, even on our team, has totally different plans. Galen and Nate, they love the phones. Me, I'm a hardcore serial networker. Like, I am really bad at making phone calls now. That's what I do. I've got another guy on the team that loves contractors. He deals with a ton of people in his sphere of influence that flips houses. He sells them all. He finds them deals. Everybody does different things. I've got some that run open houses. I've got some that just have really good friend groups and sphere groups, and they get crazy good referrals from school and college and this and that, right? Everybody's got something different. I think what it comes down to, if you look at any top producer, and this goes for single agents, it also goes for teams. It doesn't matter which one you are. Numbers don't lie. And at the end of the day, if you look at an agent or a team that's doing over 100 deals, because we as a team, I say we just hit like 111. But shout out to like my buddy James Ney. He's in Richmond. He's probably done 108, 115 something this year by himself.
I just texted the big James.
He is an assistant, but he crushes it. And I mean, he's like my hero. I talk to James all the time. I love the guy. If you listen to this, awesome. But he's an example where if you look at our numbers or his numbers, we probably have the same amount of pipelined numbers, I bet. He's just a maniac and can somehow do it all by himself. Whereas
And,
I like to delegate.
that he's a good one to think about, because just like 10 minutes ago, I sent him a text message, just like a little playful text message, immediately responds. He is not just sitting around like waiting for he's like super busy,
Yeah.
but he's a follow up. You call him, he's going to call you back.
He's the kind of guy I want to buy a house from.
Exactly.
I'm a realtor, and yet sometimes I'm like, maybe if I sell my house, I'll get James to do it, because I love James so much. James just calls me, and we like have pillow. He's like the only guy like I pillow talk with at night. Like, he'll call me, and he's like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "I'm in bed
Wait a minute.
What?
on the phone."
Only guy?
What?
Hello?
Mike's saying,
I've gotten a phone call or two from you.
What, am I not sitting right here, ladies and gentlemen? Are you guys looking at this camera?
Galen does not call me while I'm in bed at night, because typically we're playing video games until we go to bed at night, and then we say goodbye.
Hey, good See you in 5
All
hours
right.
when we wake up.
What is it? Time for sleeps. That's Galen
Yep.
every night about
All
11
right,
o'clock.
time for sleeps.
But James will call me while I'm in bed and just be like, "What you doing?" I'm like, I'm about to sleep. What are you doing? He's probably like, I don't know, I'm about to write 3 contracts. Like, that's just. That's
He's like, I'm at a property waiting for someone. I'm like, it's 11:30 at night.
I'm making a smoothie. Want one?
Yeah, I mean, he would do it too. So the thing is the numbers. I mean, we probably have at this point, if I had to guess, about 400 leads a month that come in through our system. That's just cold leads coming in through the website, coming in through showing requests, things that we have to prospect. Then you have open houses. So, we're probably not the strongest on open houses as a team. There's some teams out there I see doing 6 to 8 open houses a weekend. We probably do 6 to 8 open houses a month, if I had to guess. But same thing. You're bringing in people off of those. If you don't have the numbers, you're never going to make this work. So I'd say if you're trying to grow your numbers, you have to ask yourself, you should be able to break down how many phone calls do I have to take to get somebody on the phone? How many people do I have to get on the phone to get somebody that wants to buy a house? And how many people do I need that want to buy houses before I get a contract?
Right.
And if you can't break that down, or if you do break it down and you see that your numbers are hundreds behind, then you just need hundreds of more contacts, right?
Yeah. I think you and I are similar in the fact that we both while I do like the phone, the whole point of the phone for me is to meet them.
Yeah.
Like I'm good on the phone, but I feel like I'm better
if you can't tell from looking at Galen, I say I'm a serial networker just because I don't make phone calls. Galen's a serial networker, but he does also make phone calls.
I want to meet. I'm like, come to the office. Let's get some beers. Let's get some coffee. Let's talk. That is where I'm like trying to get you in. If I can get you in, I feel like we're going to be best friends.
Everyone loves Galen.
Everyone
doesn't love me, but
you
everyone loves Galen.
But we're going to be friends. Oh, we're being friends.
Yeah, and Galen's going to pitch it. He's going to do great. Me, I shared a house the other day. It was $500,000, and as I was leaving, a car pulled into the driveway and blocked us, and I was like, mm-mm. And she rolled down the window and she started trying to ask me questions about the house, and I was like, you're in our way. We're trying to get and my client was like, do you want to give her a card or something so you can I was like, no. I was like, I don't. I was like, I don't want any more sales this year. I'm super tired. I was like,
anytime I have a bad experience with someone, I just say, hey, sorry, my name's James Day. I'll talk to you later.
That's right.
But yeah, so as you mentioned, you've got to block out your time. Whatever you find that works for you, if you're going to grow, you got to do more of it.
Yep.
So if you did 12 open houses this year, well, you're going to do 24. You're going to have to grow that. I like doing open houses. My schedule just doesn't allow for it as much as I like to, because I do more than just real estate. I do a lot of stuff, but.
And if something doesn't work, cut it out. And if something does work, magnify it. Yeah. Right? If you're doing open houses and maybe you just suck at closing open houses, stop doing them then.
Don't do them.
If you're not getting any clientele out of it. It expires. I mean, look at someone like, who we talked about earlier. He crushes the phones. He kills expired listings. If you can replicate that, then why not? You know? Everybody's got their niche of what works for them.
I love it. All right, what's the next? Oh, man, my computer keeps going.
Well, I mean, I think, what are we at time-wise, Mike? And are we still recording properly?
Yes.
Mike's over there playing,
minutes.
on his phone.
He's playing,
making deals.
Flappy Bird.
Closing with friends.
Closing appointments.
Flappy Bird. So, he's like, I found this game on my iPhone 12 I just bought. I'm like, 10 years
Still in
ago.
the package. iPhone 12 is out, and Mike's got one, so if you want to steal it, come find him.
Apparently, the camera's so much better. That's what he told me.
How much better can it be where the human eye doesn't even recognize?
The average person probably couldn't tell, but for
Mike, he's not average.
Yes, I can tell.
Spoken like a true photographer. I can tell.
So
I just saw a listing yesterday that down the street that's on the market, and they only did cloud replacements for the first photo and not the rest. No. Do it all, photographers out there.
Interesting.
So speaking to Mike on this, I'm going to let him give some feedback. We normally tell him to just, keep quiet and push the buttons. But, all right, Mike, how many acting realtors do you do business for?
Ballpark.
On a monthly basis, anywhere from 30 to 40.
Okay. But you probably have a lot more that work with you. They're just not producing a lot.
Right.
So, but we're talking about all agents, average and non-average. So you're not going to do it.
The number of archive that I have is really high, but...
Let's say you actively deal with 50 to 100 agents.
Yes.
Okay. What differentiates the ones you like? He's shaking his head.
I'm not going down this rabbit hole.
The ones you like.
He's shaking his head. Don't you love my wording on my questions?
I think
Mike?
I try to treat everyone the same
Very
across the
good.
board.
He's a Boy Scout.
That's good.
Okay.
Right.
I try to be.
So what do you see?
And I want all my clients to know if they're not able to be there, I can represent them and know that the job is going to get done and the homeowners are going to be taken care of.
All right, Studio 77. That's why you hire him to shoot your houses. We got that. We'll sponsor that later. You can pay us. We'll be even for the podcast. Now, back to the actual question. You sound like Trump at a debate. Just like, sorry, not to be political at all.
This is
like,
treading water here.
What
would
is
you
the
say to
color of
all
the
of
sky,
the-
Mike? Well, the color is, at different times. Like, Mike, just answer the
Let's
question.
try this again.
Reword the question so
He
that Mike
wants,
doesn't
he wants
cry.
to be on the podcast, and you try to get him on.
No,
All
I'm
right.
Welcome to the hot
trying
seat.
to
All right.
be.
What's the difference between agents you see that are top producers
Okay,
and
that's
the
fair.
agents that maybe aren't calling you nearly as much to do deals and photography sessions for them?
So the top producer agents usually have a team where I haven't seen the actual agent in quite some time. And usually the team is really, really good, or the team is like constantly rotating where it's a new person coming to, the home, or I'm contacting a new person or something like that. So there's a difference between there's agents that get together for a long, long time and have a great team. Then there's the ones that don't have it all together, that seem like they're just rotating out, or they're jumping from Remax to a different place. Then it goes down a tier to the agent that's really trying to get going, where they're doing really well, and I see them 5-6 times a month,
that's a lot.
and they're trying to possibly at the break of adding buyers or assistant or something like that. Then there's the ones that basically just are starting out and have no clue what they're doing.
All right. So the ones that have no clue what they're doing, what would you tell those agents?
Tell them as in like
What advice would you give them?
shadow.
Shadow.
Anytime someone's looking to get in real estate or they ask me about it, I'm like, jump on a team. There's no saying that you have to stay on that team for a while, but it will get you in the right doors and understand what you should be working on, what you're branding, and understand the lingo, understand how to write deals, or how to get the house ready, or everything about it, and then you can start if you want to break off and start doing your thing. I mean, the day and age of when someone's going to be on a brokerage, I don't know if just
Does it ever seem like the people that are doing more production, even though they're busier, have their stuff together more than the ones that you're only hearing from a few months at a time?
yeah.
And how so? Just because, you mentioned the team. Do you really think it's just because they've automated so much out?
I just have a good core team, I guess.
Okay. Well,
I wrote who do you surround yourself with, as far as I feel like if you want to transition to another level, you've got to surround yourself with people who are working hard like you, or can also support what you're doing.
Well, I can think of like 2 people off the top of my head that I'm not going to mention names, but they're solo. They've been solo ever since I've known them, and they do great.
Yeah.
So there are the ones that are the solo all one. They're meeting the stager. They're doing everything.
Yeah.
So there are people like that. But there's just, it seems like this new wave of people, and I've been doing this for almost as long as 8-9 years now or something like that. So the new people coming in, I just feel like they are not grasping and taking every advantage of what they should be doing.
So maybe, and this isn't necessarily even a podcast on team versus solo agent. Write that down. That's another good podcast episode. Someone get that down, right? That'd be another good episode topic. It's not about that. It's about really how do you grow to the next level. And there is a trend, nothing against the solo agent. Like I said, we shouted out to James earlier, that kills it. He does amazing. But if you're starting to get busy, like for me personally, after I started doing 60, 70, 80 deals personally a year, it starts to just get taxing, because especially in a market like this where houses are selling in seconds, if you've got 15 buyers that are waiting to find houses, there's only but so many Saturdays or Sundays or evenings in a month that you have to show them houses, right? And then once you get all of these people under contract, I've talked to agents that say, man, I've got 4 deals in escrow right now. I'm so busy. At one point this year, we had 32 under contract at one time, and that doesn't count the actives. That doesn't count the
A single person, that would be really, really hard for
it
them
would be.
to-
And again, I'm not even necessarily just bragging our numbers, because again, like Galen said earlier, there's always somebody out there that's killing your numbers. The guy that brought me into EXP, I think they hit 300 deals this year so far already. That's awesome. That's incredible. But he's built out this well-oiled machine, and part of the reason I moved to EXP was to take his systems and put them in place for our team, and I've seen our numbers grow because of it. So you may need to ask yourself, no matter where you're at in your business, team, solo agent, however many deals you've done for the year, what is bottlenecking me, right? Because you may find that if you're doing your own transaction coordinating and you're ordering your termites and you're ordering your homeowners association packages and you're ordering your home inspections and you're doing piddly paperwork and you're sending stuff to title agencies and you're contacting the lender every day, you may find that these are all things that hold you back from that next deal. And sometimes it's hard for that solo agent to let go of these things. They think I've
got to be the one who does them.
Exactly.
If I don't do them, they're not going to get done.
Right. What's my client going to think when someone else orders the termite inspection, right? Short answer, no one cares.
They won't care.
They don't care at all. If anything,
Just to make
they
sure it gets
look
ordered.
that, wow, these things, everything's happening so quickly, everything's so smooth, this is good. And so that's why we have Galen's lovely wife that runs all of our transactions on the team. We've got assistants, we've got softwares, we've got things to make it so that we can stick to selling. And so that's the last thing, I think, probably would be, at the end of the day, if you want to grow your numbers,
Find out what you're good at.
pay somebody else to do the rest.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was like,
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out what you're good at and
100%.
do that
I mean,
thing the most, and everything else, figure out a way to get yourself away from doing that.
I couldn't
Yeah.
do half the things I do without a team that I have now. I mean,
You just need to go into your personal life. This is like when people are like, well, I like cutting grass. I'm like, I don't. I will never cut my grass.
yeah, I haven't cut the grass in 4 years.
It doesn't make sense for me to spend 3 hours on a weekend doing my lawn when I could go out and sell a house and make enough to pay for 3 years worth of lawn care. It doesn't make sense. Pay somebody to do
Find
it.
what you're good at.
There's agents that I know that have stained or pressure washed and stained the homeowner's deck. Like, he's like, oh, I gotta hold you back. I gotta stain the deck. I'm like, oh, you got someone coming? He's like, no, I'm doing it on Saturday.
Hope you're getting paid for that separately.
I mean, that's the crazy things I've seen.
I've heard.
I can't even conceptually wrap my head around that at all. I mean,
I've done some crazy things for clients. I will not do that.
Sure,
I will.
same.
I will subcontract out. I mean, not
That's a
act as
lot.
a contractor, but I'll give them all of my contractors and line up their quotes and get them everything. I can't actually
done that.
contract for them because I'm not a contractor. I'm not getting paid, but I can help get a house ready no matter what needs to
So
be done.
no washing windows when I ask you to my house.
I know. In fact, when your girl showed up the other day, we had a guy out there cleaning the windows on the house because we went out there and they
Yeah,
looked
she
like
was
crap.
hot. She was not happy about that.
Well, we gave her an original time. She went early.
whoops.
You asked to get her in early. I
We're
said
just-
she could go
hey,
early.
Trying to get it done.
It's a gamble,
Trying
man.
to get it done.
It's a gamble. So look, I heard, and I forgot where I heard this, but there's a number that you want to put on essentially how much something costs before you give it to somebody else. That number may be low for some people. It may be high for other people. It depends on your production. If you're doing 10 sales right now and you want to double it, it's probably not something that's $200 an hour. But in one of the last books that I read, they said if it costs less than $200 an hour to pay somebody to do it, pay somebody to do it. That's a tall number. Probably your very high producers that are trying to scale, they probably are working like that all the time. But maybe the number is $15 an hour, right? $20 an hour. If it's something that would be minimum wage to slightly over that, why is a realtor who can go out and produce millions of dollars in commissions a year, would you sit and stuff cookies into gift bags for people to drop at your client's doorstep?
They do it.
Or stuff envelopes.
still do it.
And no, 100%. But that's why we're doing this podcast, right? Well, how to take yourself to the next level. Stop doing all the things that aren't making you money. If it's not a money-making move,
Get out of here.
don't do it. Sphere of influence, stay in front of your sphere of influence. Cold leads, get in front of your cold leads. Again, we could keep this thing going on things to do, but this would be a really long podcast if we kept going. But I mean, at the end of the day, your sphere of influence is the best source of leads you can do. That's why if you follow like Brian Buffini and all these coaches, they always tell you if you're 80 or 90% likely to close the referral that your friend gives you, and you're like 10% or less likely to close the cold referral that you get off the internet, why wouldn't you be working your warm sphere leads, right? So pop buy boxes. But all of these things can be automated. There's websites now for everything. There's virtual assistants. Do what you can to stick to selling, to stay in front of your sphere, and to put deals together. And you'll grow your business.
I like it.
Closing thoughts? Anything else?
Food fight.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully you guys have been checking out Food Fight. Galen's been posting them a lot.
Love the Food
am
Fight.
A little bit behind on all of our content, so I've got them coming up. Right now we're doing pizza, right? So we've done what so far? Sergio's?
We've done Sergio's. We've done Pizza Express.
I think we should ask the viewers which food should we go to next.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, 2 questions in. We got some feedback. People love that there's different styles of pizza that we're doing because it's stuff that the people just didn't know was in Richmond. But then we've had some pizza aficionados tell us you just got to stick with cheese because that's the true test
We've
of
been
a
asked to
pizza.
stop
I've
calling
said
them
this.
pizza Nazis.
I've said this. They don't listen.
I didn't throw Mike under the bus. He's calling himself the pizza aficionado now. So look, we want to hear from you.
I'm a pizza aficionado. I like to eat pizza.
I'm Italian.
What do you want to see us eat right outside of pizza once we
Right.
shift on? And is there anywhere in Richmond that you think qualifies
That
for
didn't
a
get done
best-
justice, right?
What would be the next thing that like Richmond's kind of known for when it comes to food? Like burgers would be the next one, I think.
I don't know if it's about Richmond being
I don't know
known
about the
for
Richmond
it.
thing,
Well,
but people
I'm saying
love burgers.
in general.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So people love a good burger, and people love good chicken wings.
Oh, yeah.
And by people, I mean me. so
I just ate a
think
chicken wing before I got here.
we would do seafood, but it would kill Galen. He's allergic, so nothing seafood centric.
Don't
But
kill me.
whatever else you want to recommend, let us know.
Tacos, pizza, pasta.
So tacos, I think tacos would almost not even be area specific. I almost think you'd have to just go find all the taco dives because that's where all the best tacos are.
There's a place that I want to feature that I've been going to, the I Caramba.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love that place.
That mango habanero sauce
Mango
they have.
habanero. It's so sweet.
And they're
put it
always
in,
like,
listen
"Are
to
you sure you want
your
this
eyeballs
much?"
start to
I'm always
melt.
like, "Yeah, give me more." And they're like, "Are you positive? It's really hot." I'm
Well,
like, "No,
here's
wait,
the
yeah,
thing.
it's good."
Before we end, I've always thought this. Like, a lot of times people were like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Yeah, give it to me." Then you have it. And it's like nothing. When this lady says, "Are you
Oh, it's
sure?"
hot.
Listen to this woman, because I was like, "Oh yeah, just give it to me." And then I like dumped a bunch on it and I ate it, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And
I was like tears. I was like, "You weren't lying." And she was like, "I told you." I'm like, I
How
don't know
can
what to do.
something so sweet be so spicy too? I mean, it
mean,
is just the perfect
way you
mix
go.
of it's sweet as you
Go to I
taste it.
Caramba.
but
It's on.
It's
Grace?
on Maine. No,
It's on Grace.
Maine. I think
I don't know.
it's got to be Maine.
I'll know in about 5 seconds. so
No,
I'll
it
tell you that
doesn't
much.
have to be Maine. It could be Grace. You're right. It goes Broad. Yeah, it goes Broad, Grace, Cary, Maine.
Yep,
Canal.
204
Yep.
East Grace Street, Richmond, Virginia.
Yeah, it's just like a like a locally owned Chipotle style place.
Sure.
Tacos, burritos, quesadillas,
Quesadillas, yeah.
whatever meat you want, whatever.
Carnitas, they got it.
It's
so
right
good.
in your office. If you ever want to stop by the office and go to iCaramba.
Get
with
an
us,
Icaramba.
let us
Come to
know.
the office. We'll have a beer.
Yeah, let us know what you want in the next Food Fight segments. Look them up on our YouTube channel, The Davis Group, and YouTube. Instagram, you'll see them there. __ The Davis Group. Or not R.
Oh, you're saying no? You're like are great
or
to go to. Oh, you're talking about me.
your Instagram.
Oh, that's right.
Broham.
My Instagram. I always like mess up my own, but it's Live Learn Love RVA.
Should Galen rename his Instagram? You tell us.
No,
Any-
you got to live it. You got to learn it. You got to love it.
We can't
RVA.
remember what it is, obviously.
Live, love, learn, RVA.
He can't remember it.
No,
All right.
no.
Or you can call me, 804-536-6100. Let us know what you want to hear on the podcast. Let us know what you want to see on our vlogs. Galen?
You can call me at 804-274-9016. That was a little radio voice
Beautiful
for you
radio
guys.
voice. Thank you for listening. Again, this is RVA Real Estate Talk with Jared Davis and Galen Parker.
If you have a real estate question that you would like to ask Jared or Galen, reach out to them at jared@centralvarealty.com or Galen at centralvarealty.com. Who knows? It may even be featured on an upcoming episode.